Nutrition can be such a challenging area. And if you're not happy with where your body is or you have trouble here, I'm going to give you 25 nutrition principles, foundations that I follow that help me avoid putting on excess and unwanted weight throughout the year. It helps me stay lean, add muscle, perform well in the gym, helps me have regular and sustained energy throughout the day, and obviously optimize the consistency of my health, my longevity, and looking and feeling good. So, of these 25, if you find a few that can stick, amazing. The more, the better. Okay. So, I've been practicing these and kind of adding these, and I've just jotted down things that have worked well for me. Here we go. The first few are around protein. So, the first one is I'll always consume 85 to 120% of my body weight in grams of protein. So if I weigh 175 pounds, I will, if you multiply that by 0.85, a low day for me is going to be 150 grams. But I'm always going to be shooting for the higher end, which is 210 if you multiply 175 times 120. So I have a range versus a fixed target. I can live within that range and I will be there most of the time. 2, each meal that I eat has a minimum of 40 grams of protein at the meal. So if I eat a meal and whatever the protein source is only has 20 grams, I need to find or add other sources to get that number up. A lot of people struggle getting protein, so that one's super helpful. Number 3, I'll always eat protein first at every meal. I know carbs are tasty or fats are delicious. Those things will fill us up, obviously provide us with a lot more calories. So protein is always the go-to first and then everything else. 4, I will eat the bulk of my carbohydrates pre and post workout. So these are things that are higher glycemic in carbs. Think rice is a big one. So I'll eat a lot of rice post workout. I'll have a decent amount of carbohydrates, probably through some fruit before working out. And we'll talk about how that shakes out the rest of the day. Number 5, I will increase fats, healthy fats, further from training and decrease carbs further from training. So it's a relationship exchange. Number 6, I will eat the highest quality meats possible. So this isn't always possible, if things are out of my control, but things that I perform or do to help me live in this realm. I, in 2022, began ordering grass-fed meat from ButcherBox. So I get a shipment of meat that usually lasts me about 2 weeks with them, 2 to 3 weeks. And then I shop local for most of the remaining aspects of my meat, which are higher quality than say like, grain-fed meat or things of that nature. And that's not always the case, but it's something I strive for. Number 7, I eat fruit at almost every meal. Okay. If you're like me and maybe you struggle with, say, vegetables, and I don't mean taste, but like your body, I eliminated vegetables actually early on in 2022 as like an experiment. And I did blood work and checked everything through that as well. And I knew I needed to make up some of the nutrients in other places through meats and fruits. So fruit became a staple at every meal for me. Number 8, I live a 90-10 principle. Most days, most weeks, obviously most months. 90%, the highest quality, nutrient, food, dense, purposeful and intentional eating, and 10% is wiggle room. Okay, so 10% is, okay, it was New Year's Eve on Saturday. I'm going to enjoy 3 slices of pizza with great company. Number 9, I never eat sweets or cookies or cake or things like that in the middle of the day. It ruins my appetite. It messes up my eating for the rest of the day, and obviously spikes insulin and things of that nature the rest of the day. So not a good protocol that I've found works well there. Number 10, when eating or I'm eating out, my mindset, my mentality goes through a couple questions. Where or what is my protein source? Then I'll say, what's the highest quality option available? Or what's the best viable option here? Okay. Number 11, I don't let others guilt me or guide me in how to eat. So, people do that all the time. They want you to join them or try this or try that, and it's harmless most of the time. But I know my physical goals, my health, my well-being goals, and what works well for my body and has and what doesn't. And I don't feel bad about that ever. Okay. Number 12, on rest days I do not train or exercise, which is typically 2 days a week, I'll decrease my carbs and I'll increase my healthy fats. And I will always keep protein high. And that's a top priority. Number 13, I do not bring something into my home that doesn't align with my health or eating goals. And again, 90-10. Sometimes throughout the year, salty is my, go-to or weakness. So it would be like chips or Tostitos or something like that, which a former version of myself could eat an entire bag, lack of self-control. So I just don't bring it into the house. That works well. 14, most days I find myself just naturally in this window where I'll eat for a 12-hour window and then I'll fast for a 12-hour window. I know some people stretch that to like 16 and 8. 12 and 12 is great, especially for those who are a little bit more athletic, gives you a bigger window and you're still getting the benefits of having a non-eating window. And I don't stick to that, or I'm not super strict with that. It just happens naturally. Number 15 is my eating timing. I keep this consistent about every 3 to 4 hours apart. Now, if you're in metabolic dysfunction, you've been eating kind of, we'll just say less than optimal for a large period of time, it may take some time for your stomach to adjust and your metabolism to rev this way, which it's natural and optimal to be doing that. Number 16, I always plan and think ahead in terms of meals or eating, looking at my day and making sure I'm prepared and I'm not leaving things to chance to go to the grocery store, a gas station, or not have a meal and I'm be stuck somewhere for a while. That to me is failing to prepare, and I'm always thinking and planning ahead. Number 17, I always shop with a grocery list. If I go in without one, obviously impulse buys or buying things that you feel you don't necessarily need can go. That possibility goes up very highly. Number 18, most of my meals take about less than 10 minutes to make. And I know that sounds crazy. It's true. I just shot a video, rest day eating, and 3 out of my 4 meals took 10 minutes or less to make. Most were like 7 to 8 minutes, and one took 15 minutes. Now, I'm not one who thrives with like recipes and things like that. If that's you, awesome. But most of my meals are quick and efficient to make, and they taste phenomenal. Number 19, I will bulk prep protein. So when I make protein, I don't just make it for that particular meal, but maybe it will last me 2 or 3 meals. So if I make chicken, I'm going to make a whole pack or most of a pack, and I'll have, 6 to 7 ounces of that chicken. And then the remaining is Tupperware, and it can serve me later in the day or the next day. Number 20, I chew gum regularly between meals. This helps for me suppress my appetite and curbs any idea of snacking. I do not snack. Snacking throws me off and disrupts my eating pattern. Number 21, I eat very similarly day to day, week to week, month to month, because simplicity and that consistency helps my body thrive. When I've found myself and other folks, when you add steps or infrequency, that just adds frustration and inconsistency with not only the body, and just that's not the way to go, in my opinion. Number 22, I will drink a lemon water at the end of almost every meal. Now, if I eat the meal to about 80% full or 90% full, the water obviously hydrates me, gives me some of the antioxidants from the lemon, but it also fills me. It finishes the gap of filling me. Number 23, this was an important one. I always eat in balance, meaning most meals, snacks, which again, I'm not a snacker, but would be in protein, carb, and fat. So I need all 3 of those macronutrients, or else what I found, if you just eat protein, I can be hungry a few hours, like an hour later. If I eat carbs, which we all know, if you eat something, sugary like Skittles or, anything, I don't know, I'm thinking of something like that, cake, you feel, full in the moment, but then you're quickly hungry shortly after. The best way to combat that is to always eat. Those are terrible foods to use as an example, but I'll always eat in balance, protein, carbs, and fat. Number 24, we're getting close. I choose not to drink alcohol and I don't add that to my life. That is just a personal preference. I don't see the value in it in terms of my health, my wellness goals. And again, going back to number 11 with I don't let others guide or guilt me, this is something that I feel like people can naturally do, like, oh, have one, or they can tease you. Knowing who you are, and if that's you, it doesn't align with you and you choose not to drink for whatever your reasons are, no one can make you feel bad about that. So that's just a personal preference that I've maybe gone to some dark sides with that, and there's no value there for me. And number 25, I will track when necessary. So I share this one because I believe everyone should have a baseline idea of how to track, to understand food, understand macronutrients, understand the baselines of food, especially protein. I tracked for a year straight, and that gave me such a valuable insight into consistency, into what makes up a food. You could ask me, oh, how many carbs are in an apple? And I'm going to tell you 22 because I did that for a year. Or understanding what foods aren't just a protein like an egg, but egg is a 1-to-1 fat and protein. So 4 eggs is 24 grams of protein and 24 grams of fat. And we need to know those things. Tracking zeroes in on quality, or helps a person zero in on quantity. And if you're focusing on quality and quantity, my goodness, you're fast tracking towards optimal results. So my friends, those are essentially 25 principles, foundational nutritional implements that I myself implement into my life. I would say with a 95+% compliance rate most of the time. I'm a human being. So of course there's moments that zag, there's moments that don't necessarily hit the target on some of those, but because I'm extremely consistent with those, body fat per se can stay relatively low and healthy periodically throughout the year. I'm happy with how my body looks, how it feels day to day. I don't put on unnecessary weight because I have these principles to fall back on, versus emotional eating, binge eating, letting others tell me what I should or shouldn't eat, or lacking knowledge. So I hope that you can take some of these away, or a lot of these, or one, and implement it into your life and see value.